When you first created your Gmail account, did you go in and change any of the settings, or did you just keep it as it was? I'm not talking about the theme or your email signature. I'm talking about the actual layout settings and personalization. For example, did you know you can have a preview pane in your Gmail so it looks a bit more like Outlook? If you didn't, then I'm going to show you how to get it in this video, along with 4 more settings in your Gmail that I think you should definitely know about and use. So let's crack on. My first tip for you is to make sure that you enable hover actions. So when you click into an email, I'll just click into this one here, you can see that there are icons across the top here, which are basically there for me to take an action, as in archive, delete, snooze the email, I can move it, I can apply labels to it, etc. That's all well and good, but there is actually a quicker way. So Gmail actually allows you to see these icons just by hovering over the email, and you can take action without having to actually go into the actual email itself. So to enable this, go into your settings by clicking the cogwheel in the top right corner, then click See All Settings, and in the General tab you'll see one called Hover Actions. So you just need to tick Enable Hover Actions and then scroll down to the very bottom and remember to save changes. This will reload the page. So now when you hover over an email, you can see that the same icons are now over on the right hand side without actually having to click into the email itself. You can take action from here, so you can archive, delete, mark as unread, or snooze the email. So that's my first tip. Make sure you enable hover actions. On to my second tip, and that's the smart features. Now I've actually grouped this under the one heading of smart features, but it's actually 3 settings that you need to switch on. So go into the cogwheel again in the top right corner, then click See All Settings. And the first one you need to switch on is called Smart Compose. So if you scroll down, and you'll see here Smart Compose. So this tries to predict what you're going to type. So it will actually try to finish off your sentences for you. So I'll just quickly give you an example. So if I'm writing an email and I put in the subject line draft newsletter, then I type out the email. So you can see I've started to type, please see below the link to the draft newsletter. But I only typed in the first 2 letters of the word draft, and Google has suggested that the remaining words in that sentence are draft newsletter based on the subject that I put in the email. So if you want to accept the suggestion that Google makes, hit the tab key and that will accept it. Then you can just carry on typing. If you don't want to accept what Google suggests, then you can just type over it anyway. It's just a really good way of saving a bit of time. So that's the first one, make sure that that's switched on. The second one in this set of features is Smart Compose Personalization. So make sure that that is also switched on. This basically makes suggestions based on your own personal writing style, so it will come up with phrases or words that you normally use. It is always handy to have it switched on, and it will save you a bit of time when you're typing out your emails. And the final one to have switched on in this section is Smart Reply. So if you scroll down a bit more, you'll see one here, Smart Reply. So these are basically suggested responses at the bottom of emails. I'll show you what I mean. Don't forget that if you make any changes in these settings, to scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Save Changes. So I'll just show you the Smart Reply. This is an email that's come through, and you can see at the bottom of the email there are 3 buttons. These are suggested replies from Google. So it's trying to predict what your reply is going to be. If you want to use any of them, then just click on it and it will open up the reply with that particular wording, and then you can carry on and write whatever you want in your email. Of course, if you don't want to use it, then you can just reply anyway with your own particular wording. But again, it's just handy to have, and it does save time when you don't really want to go into typing out a really long email. You can just literally click one of the smart replies that Google comes up with and job done. On to tip number 3, and that is nudges. So this is really good if you're busy or you're inundated with emails and you tend to forget to respond to certain emails. If you go back into your settings, so click on the cogwheel in the top right corner, See All Settings, and then scroll down until you get to one that is called Nudges. So there's 2 options here to switch on. The first one is suggest emails to reply to. So if someone's asked you a question in their email and you haven't replied yet, or you've forgotten all about it, after so many days, Google will nudge that email back to the top of your inbox, and it'll have like a little reminder asking you if you want to reply. So you can either accept the nudge and respond to the email, or you can click dismiss the nudge, you're not going to reply to it. The second one is suggest emails to follow up on. So if you've sent an email to somebody and have asked a question in the email but they haven't replied yet, Google will again nudge your email to the top of the inbox asking you if you want to follow up. And again, you can either respond or you can dismiss the nudge. So another handy feature to make sure you have switched on and use. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video about the preview pane. There are actually two ways to enable it. And in Gmail, it's called the reading pane. So the first way is a real quick way of enabling it. If you go into your settings by clicking the cogwheel in the top corner, and instead of clicking see all settings, you're in a section that's actually called quick settings. And if you scroll down, you will see a section called reading pane, and you can just choose whether you want it to the right of the inbox or below the inbox. Now, the first time you enable this, it might say that it needs to reload the page. So when you've decided which one you want to use, click the cross up here next to quick settings. And now when you go into an email, you can see the reading pane here, the preview pane. And because this is now enabled, you'll now see a button at the top of the page here where you can toggle the pane on and off. So to switch it off again, just click the button, and to switch it back on, it reappears at the side here. If you click on the drop down arrow next to it, you can now decide if you want it as a vertical split or a horizontal split. So if we change it to the horizontal, and you can see that it's now at the bottom. And if you want it any bigger or smaller, just hover over the split bar here and you can drag it up or down. And it's the same if you go to the vertical split here, go to the split bar at the side, and you can move it across left or right to increase or decrease the size of the pane. So that's the first way of enabling it. The second way is if you're actually in your main settings. So if you're already in the cogwheel and see all settings, if you're already in making changes in here, then if you go to the inbox tab across, which is the third one here, scroll down and you can see there's one called reading pane, and you can enable the reading pane this way. And just remember to hit save changes at the bottom if you've made any changes. So there are two ways of enabling the preview pane to help make your Gmail look a bit more like Outlook. And the final tip I have for you is undo send. Undo send basically does exactly what it says on the tin. It allows you to unsend the email up to a certain number of seconds after you've hit send. So when you first create your Gmail account, I think it's actually set to 5 seconds as the default. So to change that, all you need to do, go back into your settings by clicking the cogwheel in the top right corner, go to see all settings, and you'll see one here called undo send. Click on the drop down arrow and choose whichever number of seconds you want to use. And don't forget to hit save changes at the bottom of the page. So now when we reply to an email, I'll just quickly reply here. You can see in the bottom left corner here, message sent with the undo button. This undo button will stay here for 30 seconds or whatever time you've enabled in your settings, and just click undo, and the email will reopen back as a draft, and you can decide then whether you can make the changes, you can discard it, or you can send it. So let me know in the comments below which is your favorite setting. If you are new to Gmail, these settings might be set as default and you might not realize that they're actually there. So I really recommend that you go into your settings and have a play around with all of them to have a look. There's always little tooltips and learn more buttons that you can press if you want to learn more about the actual setting themselves. But if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching, and I'll now leave you in Zena's capable paws. This is Zena, the office dog, and she would love it if you could watch this video just here. Or maybe even this video. This video is good as well. Nope, she actually prefers this video just here. Or maybe this one. This one's really good. Actually, yeah, this one. Oh, do you know what? You decide.